On the outside, Chong looks like an average 15-year-old student, an average high school student, but no one knows that he's already clearing dungeons solo. While rich and talented students from top schools are still preparing and training for their first dungeon entry, it's all illegal and dangerous. But he does all this to pay the bills of his ill father, who was once the world's strongest warrior and trained him since childhood. But now he's a retired and wealthy man in the scroll world. Humans have become weak. The whole apocalypse and solo leveling era began the day the sky was filled with portals, from which monsters appeared as if they had VIP access to Earth. Have scientists later explained that it was connected to another world somewhere in the universe. That world was similar to Earth, but had been blown up. The remaining parts of that planet came plummeting toward Earth and collided directly, leaving everyone completely stunned. But not only that, but pieces of that other world began to fuse with Earth, cracking the ground. A joint tree grew, taller than any building. This was called the beginning of the adhesion phenomenon. From that moment, the world fell into chaos as terrifying creatures began preying on humans. Approximately 17% of Earth's surface was completely destroyed and overrun by monsters. These areas became massive danger zones where the monsters spared no one. It seemed there was no hope for humans. Even conventional weapons were ineffective against these otherworldly monsters. But soon, humans began to gain supernatural powers, new skills, and mythic strength. It was the humans' turn to fight. They pushed the monsters back inside the portals. Over time, these strange breaches began to appear around the world, called dungeons, and the humans who gained powers were called adventurers. Many schools and academies were created to train awakened children. The most prominent facility among them is the Republic of Korea's Adolescent Training Facility. For the past 25 years, this place has been producing top-tier adventurers, and it's called the World Runaround Soldier High School. Even normies never tire of talking about this school because it offers specialized training. It's full of freaks who treat dungeon dives like normal tests. Furthermore, these students aren't afraid of death, and they gain official entry into these dangerous zones. Their confidence is so insane that it's precisely why so many people want to enroll. Just then, two men notice a group of girls and a crowd of students gathering to see an insanely good-looking boy. One glance reveals that this boy is unreal, and his being a mixed elf race only adds to his mystique. One of the men is shocked and at a loss. He wonders what kind of being he's looking at. Then the nerdy boy reveals that the boy is quite famous on TV, and it's strange that the others don't know about him. It turns out this boy is Dove Choi, the son of a famous adventurer and an elven mother. People consider him a genius and believe he will easily reach the top 10 ranks by graduation. At just 17, Dife is a first-year student at Soldier High and has already attempted to enter the dungeon 14 times. Yet, his friend doesn't understand all the hype. Because Dife, there's no idol or celebrity. During their conversation, a nerdy kid asks Jae-jung if he's working today. He mentions going to Lee Eun-ji's group's place, but Jae-jung, lost in his phone, shows no interest in such things and suggests they have fun without him. The normies invite him to hang out after his exams, but the busy guy declines again, promising to meet next week, and leaves. Later, people wonder why Jae-jung is doing all this. It turns out that there's a Sikh man in his house, DHST, and the medical bills don't stop. So, even when he doesn't feel like it, work still pulls him along. Meanwhile, Dauf is surrounded by paparazzi when he sees Jerian leaving. One of his guards quietly asks if the boss has a problem with the guy, but Dauf brushes it off, saying he's just imagining things. Despite his lack of mood, Jong drags himself to an old abundant station, where broker IMJ1 introduces him to a new client. But the client becomes enraged upon seeing him, and the young man yells at him, asking why he didn't send his best person for the job. Gently but firmly, J1 tells him that Jurong is the best. Still, the client refuses to budge and clearly states that he doesn't want a scam. He says he only wants top-tier talent, and Jurong isn't that kind of person. This loudmouth client demands someone else, threatening dire consequences. Suddenly, Jurong asks the large man standing near the body if he's an adventurer, because frankly, he feels sorry for him. He's starting to come. The man calls him stupid for defending his body. He's not impressed at all. Then Big Shot says a broken arm or leg would be enough to teach this brat a lesson. The man is Lee Pilgu, a former silver rank adventurer who has returned from the dungeon at least 81 times. The broker immediately advises Jurong to come to his senses before things get worse, but Jurong powers up and says he doesn't know how to beg. This is Yuzurong, Dongenhai's first dungeon smuggler, who has returned from the illegal dungeon 371 times. Has returned. Dungeon smuggling ranks among the world's most dangerous criminals. It all begins when adventurers break the oath they took before entering the dungeon. After clearing the monsters, they set out to find hidden treasures. Upon finding treasure, they proceed toward the exit. Inspectors then stand guard. The reason is simple. These treasures often hold massive power. If even one goes unchecked, it could wreak unimaginable chaos in the wrong hands. This is why the Adventurers Association always prioritizes items. It inspects and registers them. Then, after imposing a tax based on their value, it sends them away. This is the part that irritates adventurers the most. Some people break the rules and devise illegal ways, encouraging adventurers to smuggle them to avoid taxes. If these pocket treasures go undetected, society suffers huge losses. Therefore, the association advises people to report such shady individuals. As soon as Amzan lights a cigarette, Baldy glares at him. Angry that the broker is allowing two adventurers to fight inside the hideout, Baldy explains that the reason for Pigu's injuries is because of he wasn't expelled from the team, but because he assaulted his teammates, he could choke anyone who stood up to him. Baldy warns Broker not to expect this gorilla to show mercy to Kid, or else he'll have to pick up his corpse later. While stretching his body, Jurong isn't bothered by Pilgu's hobby of beating up his teammates. He casually asks if the man is even a criminal, knowing he's in no position to ask such questions. Pilgu, with a sinister grin, explains that his teammate is slowing him down. He removed the trash. For a moment, Jurong is confused as to what this man is trying to say. Then he realizes that Pilgu is calling himself trash, and the broker can't help but laugh. Jurong thinks that perhaps Pilgu's trashy attitude is what forced him to throw away his license. Suddenly, Pilgu, in a fit of rage, is about to punch him in the face, but Jurong dodges without breaking a sweat, saying that attacking without warning is quite rude. This makes Pilgu's anger soar. As soon as the gorilla comes towards him, he charges. Jurong decides it's payback time and lands a rock-solid kick to the face. Bloody's eyes widen at the thought of his guard being beaten by a child. Broker, with a sinister grin on his face, reminds Baldy that he said he brought his best man, and that's Jurong. Pigu still hasn't recovered from the shock of that kick. Jurong really expected this big shot to be tougher, but the disappointment is evident. This trash didn't know he was making a big mistake by ignoring the smuggling team. Jurong's specialty isn't just guts, but insane reflexes and rock-kicking power. Pigu now understands that this brat is entering pro territory. Broker watches with smug disdain as Big Guy sees zero hope of victory. Bodhi still tries to act cool, saying that Kid may be a top-notch fighter, but he was just a kick. As Boldy begins to tell Piligu's story, Broker realizes he was Tank. Bodhi is shocked by Broker's sharp gaze. Meanwhile, Piligu is ready to teach Brat a lesson again. He says that no cheap trick will prove this. She realizes that Jurong Smugglers is more than just a little. That's when he embarks on a power quest to show his true strength. After the adhesion phenomenon, people began awakening abilities that surpassed normal human limits. Individuals developed unique builds and talents, leading to the discovery of latent abilities. Adventurers then began training based on their awakened skills and were assigned roles such as Tank, Pilgu, Bulk Up, Iron Skin, and Joint Strength. Jurong pretends he's far superior to his power bust. He's impressed. A tank's role is to protect the squad from the dangers of dungeons. They're the frontliners, standing in front of monsters and protecting the entire team. Their bodies are so trained and tough that even bullets from normal weapons can't stop them. During wartime, top-tier tanks can withstand the firepower of missiles. It's like a walking barrier. Have Jurong is truly surprised by what a real adventurer looks like. Just as Pilgo comes to crush him, Kid dodges again. Bodhi stands there in shock. Broker steps forward and catches him. No, he would have fallen. Seeing the two ready to fight again, the broker wonders if they want to create a mess on someone else's land. Meanwhile, Jurong looks at Pilgu, clearly indicating that the real fight has begun. He dodges Pilgu's solid punch, which punches a hole in the wall. The gorilla asks why he's not using cheap tricks anymore. Jurong Kamali says that he's not so stupid as to fall into an obvious trap. The broker analyzes Pilgu's strength and guesses that his punch has the impact of a decent-sized truck. As it is, one hit and bones are powder. Just then, the broker yells at Jurong to finish him off quickly, or the damage money will be deducted. The gorilla then says that cheap tricks won't work on him, but Jurong grabs a metal rod and proves he's wrong. His confident attitude blows Pilgo's mind. Now, he charges at Jurong at full speed, ready to finish him off. Tanks seem invincible to ordinary people, but they have one weakness: a single-point destructive attack. Damage dealers easily break such defenses. As soon as Pigu, he lunges Jurong, ready to finish him off with a metal rod. One clean strike, and the gorilla spews blood. He faints, while Broker smirks as if he already knows it. A blood-soaked Pil growls and asks where Jurong learned that swing. Avrong simply shrugs and says he's mistaken, though he thinks he's seen the move before, perhaps from his dad. Adventurers are typically divided into 4 basic ranks: Gemstone, Copper, Silver, and Gold. Each rank confers access to dungeons and tax benefits, like the perks it provides. But the top 100 adventurers, or rankers, are above this system and are given special color ranks. Have a trip down memory lane. Young Jared always considered his father the greatest adventurer, and not just because he was his father. He would secretly watch his old father train in the fields. His father's name was Yang, one of the first-generation heroes known as the world's first adventurers. For those who haven't witnessed the tragedies of those days, the history of the first generation reads like a legendary tale. It seems so. Those first adventurers suffered heavy losses one after another in sudden battles, and Jurang's father witnessed it all with his own eyes. It was a living hell for them. Moreover, they desperately needed intel, but they had almost no reliable information to deal with chaos. No one had any idea how capable the dungeons were or what kind of monsters lurked within them. When those early heroes first set foot, they had to fight creatures like Goloth. In today's world, even though those monsters are easy to spot, they still have to deal with them. But for the unprepared first generation, they were terrifying and unknown disasters. In those days, Yu Sang fought with his life and soul, using only his metal rod. There was no such thing as skills back then. No flashy powers, no special abilities, just courage and grit. The impact of the battle was so devastating that the titanium in the rod, which already had low erosion resistance, began to melt. Even common items were truly uncommon in those days. With clenched teeth and sheer determination, Yang faced the beast alone, clutching the metal rod tightly. In those pitiful circumstances, he attacked with all his might, and the final attack slew the monster. The first generation of adventurers went through constant trials and errors, risking their lives each time. One day, when reinforcements finally arrived through the tunnel, they were stunned to see Shang sitting quietly after taking down the monster. Survivors of those early battles passed on their experience and achievements to the next generation, and were known as heroes. Shang's father later became famous as Dragon Slayer Yang when he defeated and killed a dragon. The day he slew the beast, he stunned the world and became Asia's top-ranked adventurer. Zhang looked up to his father with deep respect and admiration. His father was invincible to him, bringing excitement during training, until one day he spat out blood. The cause was poison. It broke Zhang's heart and he burst into tears. During his exploration, Yuang was exposed to a deadly poison. Like every other time, he tried to endure it. But when he was admitted to the hospital, his body couldn't take it anymore, and he began vomiting blood frequently. The constant overwork and hellish toil finally took its toll. After decades of living like this, his body was completely broken. The comrades he trusted dearly took advantage of his weakness and stole his earnings and achievements. The betrayal was so toxic that his mental balance was shattered. He suffered both mentally and physically for a long time. Many years later, when his son Zhang came to visit after school, the world had already forgotten Dragon Slayer Yang. His hair had turned completely white. No, Hirake. He had no presence or strength left, and after the Lalad poison and the loss of everything, his life had become a heavy burden. He was no longer the hero he once was. He was just a forgotten adventurer. That memory flash struck Jurang's heart, and he turned and left, dropping the metal rod, while Pilagu still lay unconscious. Baldi couldn't believe his eyes that Pilagu had lost to a child. The broker didn't care. He didn't think Pilagu was any great master anyway. As he left, Jurang muttered that he had beaten his own teammate and had beaten Sheikh. Have showing off is a sign of weakness, and it's one of two reasons why good adventurers leave the profession. He clearly states two reasons to Buddy. Either the body can't handle the grind, or it could kill them on an expedition. He also tells Buddy that if he's getting paid more than minimum wage, he should be fired immediately, because anyone can act tough for a while. The broker immediately switches to business mode, revealing that the job's pay has doubled. Buddy gets angry, but the broker reminds him of his place. He's fought back. He had started it. They don't run a charity. Understanding that he can't argue, Bodhi silently signs the order. Later, Zhang is comfortably drinking water when the broker suddenly asks if he's heard of the Imperial Wasp. Zhang spits out the water in fear and asks if they really have to face that thing. The Imperial Wasp is one of the most dangerous monsters in the world. It made its nest in Yudo, which later transformed into the Demon Rail of Korea. Even top-ranking adventurers are able to fight a single wasp. They break out in a sweat. Jae-won thinks this mission is beyond the reach of a smuggler-level kid, but for a white-rank adventurer, things might be different. Baldi explains that a major raid took place yesterday, but the public doesn't know anything. The government army and 7 white-rank adventurers have formed an elite attack squad. Jin confirms that the 7 are Korea's biggest stars. The presence of just 2 is enough to send the media into a frenzy. The squad couldn't complete its main mission, but they did kill Queen Bee. The twist is that one of those 7 stole the Imperial Wasp's royal jelly and had his own subordinate smuggle it in. The broker explains that the jelly is fed to newborn queens and is extremely powerful, but he doesn't understand why a white-rank adventurer would stoop so low to smuggle it. Royal jelly is found only a few times in the world, and the most frightening thing is that if a person consumes it, they can literally come back from death. This news hit Jurang hard. The broker also explains that the adventurer, one of the categories is gemstone. This is a temporary license that allows entry to any level dungeon. The government and association claim that dungeon pathways are strictly monitored, but Jae-won knows this is all a lie. Standing in front of a massive door, he channels mana and blasts it. He warns Zhang not to be clumsy or he could die. Brad puts on his black mask, and the broker blows smoke in his face. Zhang tells him to stop. Zhang zones him out. Hote grabs him and pulls him back. Jurang stops himself from thinking too much about royal jelly, because such things are often exaggerated. Deep down, he knows that even if he found the best antidote in the world, it wouldn't save his father. If such a thing really existed, his father would never have given up hope. Just then, the door creaks open, and a bright light falls on his face. Stepping inside, he looks around. Following the adhesion phenomenon, danzas began to emerge worldwide. Korea has 2 of the most notorious, the first, which is based in Judo, where the dungeon merged with the volcanic mountain range. The second is in Uido, once the Heart of Seoul, now known as former Barami, have AD rank dungeon that is fused with the Eiger Forest. The dungeon spread from the center of Uido, engulfing the nearby districts of Mapo, Yong'an, and Yeongdong. Even today, much of the area remains unexplored, and countless adventurers have lost their lives searching for its secrets. They believe that one of their subordinates somehow traveled from Uedo to Barami D, but upon reaching the meeting point, all his contact information was lost. Cut to the cut. Zhang thinks the guy might have run off with the prize, but it's more likely he got injured or got into trouble along the way. Joven also mentioned that his lackey got into various troubles trying to get out. Anyway, the broker gives Zhang his mission. If he finds the item the guy had, he has to retrieve it. Basically, he wants this brat to stay focused and not get distracted. Zhang smirks at Joven and asks if he really thinks he'll run away. The broker doesn't think the guy's that stupid. Still, he wants him to be extra careful. He also reminds him that the royal jelly of the Sky Wasp is extremely valuable. With this, the pro-smuggler jumps into his adventure. Listening to the soldier's final warning that it's not just humans who risk their lives for this item, he falls to the ground, hoping to smell it in the forest air. But then he sees huge footprints buried in the ground. Now, one thing becomes clear to him. This scent will attract many things. Meanwhile, deep inside the forest, a girl is rapidly moving. She's running from something. Yes, she is. She's trying to hide. This girl is a first-year student at Jin's Aram Warrior High, going through the most stressful situation of her life. What was supposed to be a simple midterm dungeon trip has completely gone awry. Fate had other plans, as she's now running from a terrifying joint anomaly that's looming very close. She should never have encountered such a monster, yet she's trying her best to escape her fate. Even the air around her feels strange. The test was supposed to be basic: complete the dungeon within the given time, collecting coins lying around. It was like a low-rank dungeon and was considered a beginner's training ground. Yet, her luck ran out when this freak titan suddenly appeared. This place should have been filled with weak and low-intelligence monsters. But the moment she met the titan's eyes, it was as if her life was drained from her. The monster rushed straight at her, intent on crushing her. Saram knew there was no escape. Now she had only a little hope, or a miracle. Forced to do so, she picked up her bow and prepared to fight. The titan was Ape Junile, but 3 stars, dungeon level. He just stared and growled. Saram jumped into the air and fired several arrows, but she blocked them as if nothing had happened. Her fear was growing. The titan punched the ground, but Saram dodged in time. She fired another arrow, knowing it was useless because her strength couldn't pierce Abe's thick skin. Moreover, the freak didn't even try to block. He just ate him straight away. Still, she hoped he would let his guard down someday. Moving closer, she activated Fiery Boost. Saram is a magic ranger who can imbue her arrow tips with magic. Now she activates Flame Bombardment, which draws nearly unlimited magic. This was her last resort, power enough to take down a 3-star monster, but the condition was that the shot must hit, and if the app reads her every attack, then everything is useless. She's amazed at how this creep can see her attacks. Now she has nothing left. Just run. Just when the titan leaps towards her at full speed, Zhang suddenly falls from above into this mess. Bronze-class adventurers just got access to low-ranked dungeons. Serum is stunned when a man suddenly appears and strikes the titan's chin with his metal rod. Freak falls. Zhang sits on a tree branch, chilling, but he knows it wasn't enough. A mysterious tool from his gear and dives. Sam watches, stunned, as this maniac launches a direct frontal assault. The titan is about to finish him off with all its might. Serum is certain this guy is going to die. Just then, Zhang tells Serum to close his eyes. The two are about to collide. His gun flashes. An electric blast freezes the titan's entire body. Zhang lands on the ground and cries that his bottle is almost empty, because the stunning torch is completely spent. The stunning torch is made from the scales of a flickering fish that lives in deep-sea dungeons and is known for its crazy paralysis effect. It was once a favorite tool of adventurers, but misuse caused many to lose their abilities. Now it's a total ban. Saram tries to talk, but he scolds her, telling her to take responsibility for her own life. He knows that if no one pays attention in a dungeon, no one helps. Adventurers are treated like cockroaches. The broker also said that a smuggler's bunny is fine. Just then, Saram thinks of approaching, but Zhang speeds up and disappears. She is startled. Suddenly, he jumps on her and grabs her, as if he is checking her out. Sam says she just wanted to say thank you, but Zhang doesn't believe it. He thinks she's fooling him. Seem admits that she knows Zhang is a smuggler, and that's why she wants work from him. Then, she sees a mark on his shirt. The acquaintance looks at Logo and mutters that he won't ignore this a 3rd time. He doesn't care about the antics of spoiled high schoolers, and if she gets in his way, he'll kill her. The smuggler's 50 million is won, but the poacher's 400 million is about to explode. Then his eyes fall on Ankle Blood, a rare tool. It's almost impossible to buy. Even 5 smugglers together might be able to buy it. The girl calls it a down payment and says she'll pay the rest later if he helps her with her midterms. This is complete madness to Logo. Now he realizes that this girl is rich and crazy. The girl says she doesn't care. Just focus on Enkill's blood. It could change his life. Zhang realizes that he didn't need to kill her. Seen doesn't understand what he's blabbering about. Just then, a giant shadow falls over them and reminds him that he only has seconds. The Titan ape is about to crush them. Both jump out just in time. Junyurang yells at him for not giving him a chance to throw her away like that. Then he tells her to use the fiery strike again. He tells the girl to put a spell on the end of her staff and throw it back. But then panic hits him as he remembers that he's completely drained. He doesn't have a shred of magic left in him. Zhang yells at him to do something quickly, because he won't be able to hold the Titan's attention for long with just his bare hands. Amidst all the tension, Saram channels what little magic she has left into her staff, but it's only a quarter of her full power. She's confident it won't even scratch the monster's thick skin. Fear grips her, and for a moment she considers running away alone while the boy fends off the Titan. Nevertheless, she throws the magic-infused staff to Jaren, and he catches it. But it's clear from his face that he's not satisfied with just quarter power. Now it's Jaren's turn to fuse his magic into a staff and take it to the next level. The students of Warrior High have heard this a dozen times. Brute strength alone won't bring down a monster. Timing and precision are the real weapons. Seram's eyes widen. As she goes, she watches as Jurong slashes across the Titan's face in the blink of an eye, setting it ablaze. The blast shatters her goggles, but the grin on her face reveals she's pleased with the outcome. Have Silver-class adventurers who have cleared more than 50 dungeons are capable of handling 3-star monsters, but aren't allowed into intermediate dungeons. This is the rank of most adventurers. As evening falls, children emerge from school and scatter, laughing and chatting. Just then, a small serum appears, revealing a black. She sees a man in a suit standing near a sleek car. She says goodbye to her friends and gets into it. Her friends, watching from behind, are jealous. She has it all, and honestly, that's no lie. Whatever she sets her sights on, she gets it in no time. After all, she's the daughter of the Junan Group, South Korea's 4th-ranked business. The heir to this powerful family was engaged to an elf from another world, and from that, Jin's Aram was born, a girl who was passionate about adventurers and dreamed of becoming one herself. But her dreams were shattered when an elder said that her elf blood was too weak for a killer. The man even told her father that she should give up fantasy and pursue a normal life. But her father, Jin Song-yu, head of the Jinsung Group's Special Development Department, said he would support his daughter. He said that elven talent isn't necessary to become an adventurer. The blonde coach also agrees that Seam isn't bad, but still just above average. Furthermore, Jinsung's daughter isn't from a normal family. Yes, she's like her sister in her unwavering determination, but she can't be placed in the League of Monster-rank humans. He says that if Sarm keeps trying, she can reach a decent level, or she'll be recognized as a normal human, and her wealth, name, and bloodline will compensate for her many shortcomings. In his eyes, her hard work will be wasted and people will either envy or mock her, and sir, we may not be able to tolerate this much longer. Talent doesn't fall from the sky. Meanwhile, Seam is still in shock because Jurong defeated the Titan Ape with just one slash. He dropped it, he continued walking as if nothing had happened. Jurong suddenly remembers that the broker had given him goggles and told him not to break them, but they had already been broken in the first Titan Ape fight. He thinks they were just a 58-piece item, but the broker says they block facial recognition, change voice, and have 4 magic spells. Jurong becomes even more frustrated. Just then, Saram asks if he's her school's sunbae. This further irritates him, and he demands payment. She immediately gives him Enkil's blood necklace. He's checking out the necklace. Saram casually asks if she needs more money. He knows how expensive the Adventure Education Center is, so he's willing to pay her tuition. But Jurong cuts her off. He's never been to school. This blows Saram's mind. She demands to know who taught him to fight. Jurong says it himself. Hearing this, her brain almost short-circuits. She can't believe someone could teach themselves such sharp moves. As she screams, Jurong sticks his identity tag on her face. It reads Yu-Jar, Yongdong Gang High School. He says it's just a normal humanities school. Saram's hopes are dashed. Jurong also asks for her identity card. It says Jin Saram Warrior High School. He puts the card back in her pocket and reminds her about the job. She wants to see his ID so he doesn't run away. Then he calls her close and suddenly embraces her. Saram blushes. But for him, it's a smuggler-style way to seal the deal. He says that accomplices receive the same punishment as the smuggler. Now Saram breaks into a cold sweat. She's really caught up with someone dangerous. Jurong's Dracula-like grin says it all. There's no turning back now. Gold class is available to those who have taken down a 4-star monster. They fall into the elite 10%. After taking a selfie with the dead body of the Titan Ape, Jurong returns to work and asks what Saram wants. She tells her she needs to collect scattered coins within a 6-hour time limit and find the coin box. She has 1 coin, and the other is in the old Eugene Mall. It's in the ruins, the very place where Jurong is going for his mission. Saram is scared, thinking it's an imperial wasp. But he says it's just something like royal jelly, the smell of which attracts monsters. He'll go there anyway. The other coins must have been taken, so he had to go alone. Jurong says okay, but if there's extra work, he'll charge extra. He checks to see if Saram can run. As soon as he nods, he flashes forward, and she runs after him. He thinks to himself, he should have asked for more money. Then there's that same bimbo. She throws questions at him. She asks if he really learned everything on his own. He admits it wasn't entirely his own. Just as he's about to tell her something about his childhood, she sees 2 monsters casually walking ahead. He immediately tells her to get ready, as they're about to face the Kloss Raptors, a species once native to Borodong and considered a 2-star monster. As she raises her guard, she realizes this boy doesn't seem to be professionally trained. The reason why Yuzurang has this power is because he risks his life every day. But there's one exception. As a child, he secretly observed his father's precise movements and learned 3 techniques from them. As Zhurong advances to face those claws, he takes his position. The first technique is the needle, a war that concentrates speed, power, and weight on a single vital point. Just like in the fight with the Titan ape, he used a metal rod with pinpoint accuracy, causing the monster to spew blood. This move looks simple, but it's not easy to do. It requires real experience, sharp instincts, and raw talent, something even top-tier adventurers can't perform flawlessly. But Yuzurong did it perfectly. Meanwhile, Sarm realizes that Chloraptors usually travel in groups of at least 5. Then Zhang reveals that he wasn't the only one injured by the royal jelly. Many other dangerous monsters might be lurking around the ruins. Sensing the possibility of encountering one, Zhang decides to rest for a while. Sharm agrees, but then asks the same unfinished question. She asks, "In childhood, I was a child. Did she receive any personal training?" He averts his gaze and simply says he watched someone train for a long time. This shocks him, as he thought she would reveal some big secret, but it turns out she's just copied moves, blurts out that she doesn't like him at all, and Zhurong is stunned by her sudden statement. Just then, Sarum throws a golden object at him, and he catches it. It's a Stamina Amp C-type capsule that sells for 1 million yuan. She asks him to drink it because his stamina is low. Zhurong teases that such a gesture says a lot about whether she likes him or not. She seems to be hiding her feelings, but instead of drinking it, he puts it in his pocket, leaving her stunned. What's even more strange is that he plans to sell it later. She irritatedly asks if he even knows how much it costs. He then explains that it could easily fetch $1 million on the black market. Sam doesn't understand how this guy thinks. Zhurong says they should leave because so she's already had her drink. She thinks this rich, spoiled brat is quite strange. On the way to the mall, Eugene suggests changing plans to stay safe. Their goal is simple: get what they need and not mess with any monsters. He strictly instructs Sam to follow his orders and stay strong. He knows Sam has some training, but her true strength lies in her survival skills, so he wants her to trust him. Meanwhile, Sam is feeling strange. Half a year ago, she was an outsider at school, and today, for the first time, he's in a dungeon with someone. As soon as they reach Eugene Mall, both are stunned. The monster fragments scattered across the floor resemble a bloodbath. A visit to this tomb-like mall reveals that humans are truly filled with courage rather than fear. But this scene shakes them both to the core. Serum is stunned. Her mouth drops open. No one could have imagined such a horrific scene. Moreover, these monsters don't seem to be from this area and could even challenge a pro adventurer. Serum begins to panic, wondering what terrifying lurks inside. Something is hidden that has caused so much destruction. Zhurong warns her not to lose her mind because something very dangerous is here. She already felt it, but now the situation has worsened. Just then she sees something move, and Zhurong immediately takes up the burden. Just then, Slasher Lip, a 5-star monster, appears screaming. Zhurong swings his staff to block its attack, but it draws its weapon with its long tongue and attacks him. Zhurong jumps into the air and kicks it hard in the face. Serum stands behind, waiting for instructions. She says, "It has a very high survivability." Zhang explains that it deliberately keeps him alive because it's an alarm. Slasher Lip calls out to his tribe under threat of death. Serum panics and asks who it's calling. Just then, a man appears and says, "Maybe me." He says the cleanup has exhausted him, and this mess is his own. Sam is stunned. Something about this man unsettles Jaren to his core. Seeing the symbol on Mon's shirt, he jumps down and asks if he's a student at Warrior High. Upon receiving the answer, he says, "Alas, they will have to die here." Serum's condition worsens. Zhurong immediately explains that this is no ordinary adventurer, but a dangerous villain. He warns that he has come to steal the royal jelly and kill them, and that he has nothing to do with the commissioner. The man laughs and says that consequences only matter if caught. He had heard about his partner's high-value smuggling scheme and planned to kill him, but it remained incomplete. Unfortunately, that partner had chosen this very spot to escape, so he ended up here. Only then does Zhurong understand. It turns out that the real reason for the subordinate's disappearance isn't Skywaste, but this scoundrel. Without a fight, Zhang realizes that this maniac is several levels above people like Pilgu. The madman says he'll kill them both, but will spare them the pain. Zhang immediately tells Serum to find the coins and escape safely while he buys time. He says there are no monsters left here, because this psycho has killed everyone. As the madman approaches him, Zhang coldly declares that his presence doesn't matter. As they confront, he kills Bimbo. He yells at her to leave immediately because he needs to stay alive to pay her. As Sim runs out, the madam tells him it wasn't a smart move because staying together would have given them a better chance of survival. But Zhurong says it all and charges his power, ready to take on this villain. As soon as his sod pattern is struck, Zhurong leaps into the air and smoothly slams his foot into the man's face. He's astonished. It's a complete stunt that this kid tricked him into using gear. He never expected this youngling to be so. He must have serious power, far above the average pro. This shock forces him to take the fight seriously, especially if he has to deal with that girl from Warrior High School. He bluntly tells Jurong that it won't take long to finish him off, and then transforms into something terrifying and deadly. That's Yang Dog, a gold-class adventurer. Meanwhile, in the hideout, the water has boiled, and Broker is comfortably eating his noodles. He tells Bodhi to sit down, because Pagoo won't get up anytime soon. Baldy explodes with anger. He's crying. He says that despite all the money the gorilla has poured into him, he still can't lift his weight. The broker calms him down, and the soldier explains that adventurers don't train to fight humans. Pilga was probably only trained in hunting and exploring, not one-on-one combat. Moreover, the smuggler who fought him didn't even know him, so losing is normal. Bodhi says that adventurers fight each other, and the broker believes that the higher the rank, the more valuable the position and the greater the chances of a fight. Even comrades kill each other out of greed. There are no rules in a dungeon. Whatever happens is the truth. Equipment is half an adventurer's combat power, and Pagoo wasn't geared up for that fight. Meanwhile, in Eugene Mall, Zhang is drenched in sweat. Dog Yun doesn't even dodge his attack. His kick hits him directly, yet it doesn't affect him. His blade is also of insane defense level. In a flash, Dog Yun lunges for a blow, but Metal Rod blocks it just in time. The next moment, a massive kick sends Jerong flying like a wall. Jerong understands. Done. This won't work. Dog Yunan is wearing a shade jacket, A+ rank armor that drains the user's blood, enhancing physical abilities, and making impact defense insane. This guy fights in a buzzer style. A wrong counter, and you're finished. Dog Yunan lands a clean shot to Jerong's stomach, but Jerong casually opens the jacket and asks if there's a special occasion today. This stings Dog Yunan to the core. Jerong admits he was initially scared. But now seeing this guy rely on the gear to defeat a high schooler, disappointment ensues. Jerong reminds him that talking won't help. Doyen desperately wants to kill him, but as long as he's standing, that won't happen. The pressure mounts, and Jerong uses it as an advantage. In the midst of the fight, Jerong discovers another technique, turning the enemy's power against them, not his own, and delivering a massive blow. It's a tricky move he hasn't yet fully mastered. It's called Swell. The swell causes Jerong to spit out blood. But the attack is so powerful that Doyen Yanyan's mask flies off, and he crashes into a wall. He leaves. Zhang says the game is over, but this beast is still standing. On the 5th floor, Sam is panting. There's a coin station in front of her. Just what she needed. She gets her identification scanned, but then she remembers Jerong's line, "Don't run away, stay alive, and survive to pay." She realizes that simply running away won't change anything. This fight has its own weight, and Jerong wasn't about to engage with two Yunins without a plan. In a flashback, Dog Yunyan is brutally beating a boy. He was a genius since childhood. Talent, pride, dominance, all with ease. He could have gotten it. But there was one thing he didn't get: acceptance at Warrior High. Warrior High looked purely for money and connections, not raw talent. But Gangyun's school was based on pure skill, and Dog Yun aced the entrance exam. Upon graduation, the principal congratulated him on becoming a valid Victorian and told him to stay calm. Dog Yun was outwardly respectful, but deep down he considered the principal a washed-up loser. He vowed to show everyone what a real adventurer was. In the present, the same normie principal-turned-adventurer is terrified by the sight of a giant monster. He freezes, while Dog Yunan finishes him off like a simple task. As the entire party-busting monster collapses before Dog Yunan, the poor man trembles. A shiver runs down his spine. Dog Yunan casually says he received a call about a dangerous situation. But honestly, it was all too easy for him. Seeing his same disgusted look, the man realizes that his principal's old motivational speech was actually just a consolation, not a reward. He understands that he was never the chosen one, just a role for the above-average normies, just a model. In the present, Dog Yunan reveals the truth about the jacket to Jarong. A live vampire had agreed to donate his heart's bloodstream, and this flow gives Dog Yanyan a monster boost. The only price is Jarong's death. Jarong finds this extremely risky and refuses to agree. Just then, Dog Yanyan charges at full speed in a cowardly manner. Seeing his sudden speed, Jarong understands that the fight is about to be brutal. The two clash, and Jarong remains standing despite being covered in blood. Doyen is surprised that Jarong blocks his attack. He compliments his reaction speed and instincts. Then he asks why such a talented boy became a smuggler. Jarong simply coldly replies that he's not in the mood to explain. Just then, Dog Yunan awkwardly thanks him and laughs maniacally, delighted to have had the chance to crush someone with real talent. Jarong knows that Dog Yunan's blood boost won't last forever, so he sets up his mind for the needle technique, using a trick to make him bleed out even more. Dog Yunan claims to have already predicted the needle move. But at that very moment, a fiery arrow explodes in his face. Jarong smiles at Serum in shock, while Dog Yun's face contorts with disgust. Man's stunt ignites a fire within Jarong. As the dust settles, Jarong finally takes down this A-rated adventurer. Dog Yun lies covered in blood, and Serum asks, "Is he dead?" Jarong says, "People like him don't die easily, and they won't risk revenge." Jarong raises his staff and reminds him that he saved his life. "Is that Hugh's due?" Serum sarcastically asks. What? Now, double payment will have to be made for both the Titan ape and this mess. Zirong smiles and says that being a general, he'll accept it as a fair amount since she came here despite the warning. Following the sweet scent of royal jelly, they find a man lying injured in a golden mist, protecting the item until his death. Opening the box, they are stunned. They've never seen such a rare item. Picking up the lotus of royal jelly, its scent makes their minds go blank. Zirong realizes that this is what drove all the monsters mad. He realizes it would be dangerous to stay there, so he immediately heads downstairs. Reaching the first floor, Serum sees that Dog Yawn's body is missing. Then, his terrified voice echoes. He swears he will regret killing them. But just then, the Titan ape pounces on him and tries to swallow him, and both freeze in shock. They quickly leave through the back door. Upon reaching the sunset, Zirong declares that this place is now safest. Serum explains that there's still time left to pass the test. They shake hands and part ways. Zirong, he warns her to keep it secret and pay her. Serum asks if she can ever see him again. Later, while handing the pen to the broker, Zirong explains that if this item becomes public knowledge, it will cause a lot of panic, as it is worth several buildings. The broker happily agrees to send the payment tomorrow. The broker asks if he feels bad for the martyred adventurer, but Zirong clearly states that since he didn't die in their fight, there's no guilt. The broker then asks if anything unusual happened, but Zirong avoids the topic, picking up the remaining items. As he leaves, the broker explains that the Lotus of Gold can revive the dead and increase the talent ceiling of children. It just doesn't work on adults. Perhaps it's for a kid from Warrior High. As he leaves, the broker asks his dad to send his regards. What Serum had said about the upcoming entrance exam and selection for the jars as possible still lingers in his mind. The thought of gaining entry into Warrior High, despite being a smuggler, tugs at him. The rules state that no adventurer can enter the dungeon alone because of the dangers inside. Unpredictability can't save anyone's skill. That's why parties exist. To cover each other's mistakes and balance weaknesses. It's this teamwork that clears dungeons and takes down monsters. Furthermore, Sam explains that there are multiple political factions in each grade at Warrior High. Zirong doesn't understand factions and thinks they're just for fighting. Serum dismisses this as childish and explains that there are two main factions in their grid, led by two of the top 3 students. That's when Zirong shows off his smoothness. In an operator-like tone, he asks if people only form parties within their own faction. He also understands that, "Sir, we're not currently in any faction." She believes that teachers don't interfere, as joining a faction depends entirely on the student's hard work. Zirong's expression. Serum understands that he's figured out that her lack of skill is the reason she hasn't been accepted by any faction. This no-skill girl knows it's nearly impossible for her to become a top student. Yet, she's determined to join the party. This is because the faction children are forming their own small parties. Moreover, one of the faction leaders deeply hates Sam and is secretly trying to isolate her completely. Zirong jokingly asks if Saram stole her boyfriend because she's so made in the range. Currently, she's single, but surviving in the next grades will be difficult. That's why she wants to team up with Zirong. Thinking about all this, Zirong lies on the bed, wrapped in bandages, and admits that Saram is a bit funny. Meanwhile, Saram wanders to Gangnam's 12th dungeon barrier. Still unable to believe she stumbled upon smuggler Zhang, she suspects he may never contact her again. Just then, Kang Jungkook, Warrior High's melee instructor, finds her waiting under the shade of a tree. She panics, realizing the test is still underway. Jungkook explains that a system glitch has caused several monsters to appear in places they shouldn't have. Fortunately, no deaths have been reported yet. Some students have even called for rescue when their condition worsens. And shockingly, monsters have appeared in the same area where Saram found the coin. She had found one. When asked, she pretends she didn't see anything unusual. Jungkook agrees. Then, Saram suddenly has a sickening feeling. Turning around, she sees another Titan ape, even larger than the first, standing deep in the dungeon. Jungkook is uneasy, as this isn't his territory. Saram wonders if the sweet smell of royal jelly has drawn it there. Jungkook immediately orders her to stay behind and provide support. The Titan ape steps forward, and the atmosphere becomes dangerous. Jungkook switches to serious mode. People think the dungeon teachers injured X. They are adventurers, but in reality, most of the instructors at Warrior High are former rankers themselves. Jungkook delivers a punch so powerful that a Titan ape's head explodes. This man had become a ranker in his early 20s. As his arm regenerates, he says that Sam was lucky he didn't have to face such a monster alone. At base camp, the staff informs that students who called for rescue will receive a retest, and that's a big deal. Jungkook brings Saram back. After roll call, she's allowed to change. As she relaxes, a voice calls out from behind. Anisha, the blood sister, says she was genuinely worried. Saram finds this a bit ironic as the faction leader's sister appears cold on the outside. In a flashback, 6 years ago their uncle, Jik Escararum, taught Saram magic focus when she was 11 years old. Saram, sweating profusely, could barely create a small magic ball. Meanwhile, Anisha, her age, displayed mind-boggling magic. Jik also believed Anisha was even better than a Kestri pureblood. He warned Saram that if she continued this path, she would face consequences. Comparisons will haunt her. Then she realizes that more than comparisons, she should be worried about Anisha's demonic eyes, which take note of everything. One wrong move could endanger Sarum. In the present, Anisha, looking sweet, teases Sarum that no one invited her to the party. Does have Sarum interrupts her and says, "If you care so much, then you should organize a party with me." Anisha immediately refuses, saying that both are range dealers and Sarum is out of her league. She laughs and says that it's a hassle for others to handle her anyway, and she suggests trying the retest. But Sarum has already passed. This makes Bloody's face fall. Then she taunts him, asking why he needs to work so hard when he's the one who will inherit the company. This hurts Sarum even more. Her sister wants him to give up. Meanwhile, Jurong throws the door open and sees the doctor, asking what's wrong. His father is on a ventilator, and the fear of a relapse consumes him. Doctors explain that this case is so rare that there will only be one such example in the world. Drags blood. It's unheard of for someone with an infection to survive this long. Recovery is impossible. The pain can only be suppressed with heavy medication. Then the real problem arises. A shortage of painkiller ingredients. The doctor explains that the only antidote is Sky Tiger milk, which comes from a 5-star monster. Jurong clearly states that money isn't an issue, but the discussion turns to a rumor. Have adventurers say that a potion made from Sky Tiger milk increases strength and resistance for a long time. If you have the money, it can be purchased. While rare, it was once considered useless. But now the situation is completely changed. The Tosser doctor explains that companies and adventurers have bought up the entire stock. Hearing this, Jurong becomes furious at the idiots who think he wants to save his dying father for selfish reasons. The real problem is that the amount needed to control his father's symptoms is the same amount used to make those power-boosting potions. If there were more patients, perhaps the government would intervene. But with only one case in the world, there's no need to intervene. He won't. The doctors assure him they'll do their best, but without the ingredients, they can only help with money. With a heavy heart, Jurong goes outside, sits on a park bench, and takes a deep breath. Feeling overwhelmed, he calls rich, spoiled brat Song, who is working out at the gym. She is startled by the first ring of the phone. Jurong's tired voice comes on the line, asking if it's too late. Jim Ratsam immediately says no problem. And then Jurong admits he has an offer. He has no choice but to accept. He makes his demands clear, and Sam says she can arrange it. Jurong is amazed that this girl can actually do this. It turns out that her company's development team makes the exact portion he needs, and the quantity he's asking for is nothing to them. Thinking about how strange this world is, he makes the deal. Then Sum asks if he's free on Sunday so they can prepare for the entrance exam. The girl's mood has completely changed. Now, he's preparing enthusiastically and ready to ace his exams. Jurong arrives a little early at the Jinsong Group's Special Defense Industry Research Institute. Sum enters in a cool, casual manner and asks how he's feeling. When he asks about the place, Sum explains that this is where her potion is being brewed. After the world changed, humans gained access to limitless power. Before the adhesion phenomenon, normal humans could only reach rank D. Only a few exceptions in magic could reach rank B or higher. He was considered human. Qualifying for the dungeon required a rank C, and Warrior High required a rank B in 3 stats. Amidst all this, Mon's true power level remains a mystery. Zhang casually asks if this is the physical test. Mon explains that it becomes more complex after puberty. She comforts him, and now he understands why Mon performed that feeling check before entering. Have Gear Chrome Pro is activated and stands before him, looking completely serious. Zhang is also now completely ready to find out his true potential. An observer is inside, and the first thing they notice is that this boy isn't afraid at all. Even the pros are shaken by the name Gollum. Paimon, a Gollum expert, is impressed by Jaren's studious voice while sipping tea and preparing for the Warrior High transfer. Sam laughs and nods. As soon as Amon presses the button, Gollum goes into Bjork mode. 6th and 7th grade kids are pushed to the limits in the talent test. But those with extraordinary talent, it's difficult to reach his limit. Jurong possesses a pro-level physique, so pushing him to the edge isn't easy. Amon watches in shock as he dodges Gollum's pattern, finds the perfect opportunity, and destroys him. This is beyond even many pros. Measurement is becoming difficult, as Jurong hasn't yet reached his limit. Increasing the difficulty isn't helpful. Now, a dangerous option remains. Run Gollum at 1% output, which is a crime against an unlicensed adventurer. Just then, the lab's doors open and Director Jeek enters. He reprimands Ilamon for conducting an unauthorized experiment and asks if she wants to go to jail. Sum comes to take the blame, but Jeek stops her. Jeek notices the broken Gollum and, shockingly, agrees to test it himself. In rare cases when the limit is not revealed, the testee is pitted against a higher-level opponent. Jeek suddenly assumes a fighting pose, and Jurong instinctively prepares. No introductions, just a straight fight. Jeek is Eskar Serum, the research director and Sam's uncle, also a 7th ranker in Korea. White class. Adventure rankers are the top 100, divided into color tiers: red 76100, blue 51 to 75, green 31 to 50, black 1130, and white, the top 10. Now Jurang must face this monster-level individual. His plan was simple: to catch Zeke off guard and land a heavy blow. Counterdose first, create an opening, and then land the real hit. But such a trick doesn't work on a ranker like Zeke. With just one hand, he grabs Jurang's staff like it's a child's toy. He taunts that Zhang is even more reckless than he thought. Next second, he lands a devastating kick to Jurang's stomach, sending Zhang flying through the air. His mind is shaken. He can't understand where his plan went wrong. Jik, on the other hand, laughs at his basic thinking, as if this tactic couldn't work on a professional. Moreover, he catches his mistake, releasing the weapon without being stunned. Jurang picks up the metal rod again, ready for round 2. But now Jik's patience is at an end. He's forgiven the mistake twice. Not again. His aura grows heavy, and he issues a stern warning. One more. If you do something stupid, you'll have to forget your dream of becoming an adventurer. Zhang stands. He clearly feels that Jik has some enmity with him. Still, he doesn't lose his focus. He dashes to the right at the same speed as before, but suddenly takes an extra step, shaking Jik's nerves. Meanwhile, Zhang unleashes 2 attacks simultaneously, almost catching Jik. Sun-Kissed Striker raises his eyebrows, recognizing the move is new. But still, it's all too easy for him. Jik knocks out Zhang's powered-up rod with a clean, powerful punch combo. He stops him. Iman is shocked to see all this. It feels like 2 pros are fighting. She can't believe that this boy was rejected from every special school. Saram gives an awkward laugh. Iman sees his weakness and says that Saram is much better than him in that area. Sam also now suspects that maybe Jurang has a missing piece. Then Jurang swings with full force after a dodge and really surprises Jik. But Jik also sends him flying in the sky with 2 punches. Now Jik clearly says that Zhang's basic training is bad. Offense, defense, and body control are all top-tier random talent. Instincts are insane, but fundamentals are missing. As he leaves, he says that such people thrive on talent and then die happily. Just then, Jurang stands up and asks, "Do you dislike lazy people?" Jik is stunned, wondering how this guy is still standing. Jurang says he doesn't care about the outcome. He just wants a second round to show what effort is. Emin says over the intercom that the test is over and there's no need to fight. Saram also stops him, but Zeke says nothing will change. He taunts that maybe this brat is just seeking acknowledgement. This time, Jurang becomes enraged. He says he simply has to beat this pale jerk because he never had a teacher. He learned from zero, practiced on his own, and created his own methods to reach monster slaying. The adventurers he thought were real, Pildo, and that madam, turned out to be weaker than him. Jik admits he misjudged. But now his Saiyan class aura explodes. He is determined to defeat Jurang so badly, ready to have both his anger and courage shattered. Meanwhile, the talent-powered Zhang finds himself transforming into a monster he never imagined. His blood boils, and he becomes a shadow of his father. Iman and Saram panic. Why has the chief become so serious? Then Saram notices that Jurang's stance has changed. Weight shift, grip, posture, all like someone else's. With a deep breath, Jurang shoots into the air and pounces directly on Jik. His movement is so precise that Iman's mouth drops open. Jik's eyes shift every time. She catches, but finds no opening. Serum admits the moves are as rough as ever, but there's not a single gap in them. Iman wonders which monster trained him. The answer is simple. Since childhood, he'd secretly watched his father train and copied his every move. Now Jik is searching for a place to hit him and can't find any. Now Jurang is in an unstoppable rhythm. Every swing, every dodge, every strike is the essence of his learning. Just then, Sun-Kiss, striking a blow, sees an opening and says it's his turn to deliver a solid blow. Big Shot, on the other hand, is confident that Jurang won't be able to dodge this time. But Jurang stands there, unmoved and unfazed, ready to show the one thing Jik has been waiting for. The battle has reached its peak, and the girls are in literal shock. Their jaws have fallen to the ground. As the smoke clears, after the final strike, Jik calmly remarks that if Jurang hadn't relied on that unsuitable staff skill, he might have won. Then he asks if this was his final pride move. Jurang caught his breath, but there was a slight smile on his face. He admits he's run out of moves. He's used everything he's learned, and yet this defeat doesn't hurt that badly. Deep down, he knows who Jik Eskaram is. A sharp-tongued legend. One of the top-ranked adventurers. Saram rushes to stop him, but Jeet tells her to stay put. No one ever dared to complain because Sun-Kissed Jeet's overweening skills silenced everyone. With just one hand, Jeet heals Zhang and Aram says he'll be fine. He then confirms Jurang's name with Saram. Surprised, he says he never imagined finding the son of such a special person there. Actually, Jik is one of the top 10 white class rankers in the entire country, and also Korea's greatest healer. In the evening, Jik goes for a casual walk to Eskaram to meet someone. As soon as he arrives, a Muslim interrupts him, saying that Jik should have at least sent a text if he was going to be late. He complains that he should have waited a while with coffee. Now, both of them were going to be late for the briefing. Jik's simple apology. He says it was urgent work. Then Muscle Man brings up the spar. Then he sees a small cut on Zeke's chest and points to it in shock. He can't believe a 16-year-old joining school could do such a thing. G tells him the boy is actually 17 and is targeting Warrior High. Nerdy Guy tells him that in the last 3 years, no student has been able to pass Warrior High's criteria, but he still thinks this kid has a chance. If he cuts Zeke's chest without proper ID, things are serious. The younger generation is growing up at a frightening pace. G doesn't like to compare him to Elsa, but jokingly says that maybe he and that boy aren't that different. The nerd immediately denies it. This is Kang Gyo, South Korea's 19th ranked black class and leader of Attack Squad NYX. He proudly reveals that he's 21, graduated from Warrior High 8 years and 7 months ago, and that his new car is worth 3.5 billion won. Meanwhile, Jong wakes up to find all his injuries gone. Just then, Sarah arrives with 2 cups, breathing a sigh of relief. She asks if he really thought he could beat Jik. Jong admits that Jik irritated him and started the fight. Saram explains that his uncle doesn't get into such unnecessary fights. Jong is shocked to hear that Jik is his maternal uncle, holding the cup. He notices that the bond between his uncle and niece is quite evident. He thinks Jik suspected some shady guy was with his niece, so he decided to take a test. Just then, Iman arrives and asks if he's hurt. She casually explains that their chief is from Korea, He is the greatest healer. So obviously, all the injuries are missing. Jurong is stunned to hear this. Such immense power and yet a healer. After that, Iman tells the results. Strength B, intelligence, C, stamina, A, magic, D, agility, A, patience. B, Saram gets excited, but Jurong is unsure. Iman tells that to become a first-class adventurer, one needs at least B stat. But stats alone are not enough. Balance is important. High agility is of no use if there is no stamina. High strength is also useless. If agility is low, even common people can get C rank, but the synergy between these 3 stats is rare. She explains that those with C ranks in strength, stamina, and agility are 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0 combat material, and those with B ranks in all 3 are among the top 5,000 adventurers. Now, Saram is shocked because this boy has A ranks in all 3. Only strength is B, meaning he's insane in raw stats and perfectly balanced. He's already being compared to the first-year dungeon raid monsters. Still, this boy was expecting better results. Eamon laughs and explains that Director Jeek had someone like him in charge. Neither stat has an A. Hearing this, Jurong almost freezes. Stats only indicate innate talent. The real difference comes from training and experience. Eman playfully remarks that many adventurers have closed the gap through sheer determination, and Sarm blushes in embarrassment. Jurong says he doesn't fully understand these things yet, but there's one person he admires and whose strength he aims to reach. Serm starts rapping, and then Emin asks if they're from the production department. Would you like to see it? Saram immediately refuses, not wanting to upset her uncle. Just then, Y-Man casually reveals that Jaike has already given permission and they're going to make a custom weapon for Jurong, free of charge. High-quality equipment is every adventurer's dream, because as skills grow, so too must gear to unleash true power. Jurong understood this, so, as long as it didn't burden his pocket, he was willing to be grateful. Is it really so important to buy it now? Saram looked at him suspiciously. He stares at him. As if annoyed by his foolishness, he says in a stern voice, yes, it's absolutely necessary. He reminds him that Warrior High is after all a school, and it does provide basic usable equipment. Hearing this, both Eamon and Saram's jaws drop. Wiping the sweat from her forehead, Sam admits it was her mistake not to explain this earlier. Then she points out that this boy is actually thinking of joining Warrior High. She explains that the criteria he's referring to are the same as those at normal adventure institutions. Applies. But to maintain fairness among students, each academy has its own rules regarding what equipment is allowed. Hearing. This Jurong is stunned and asks why Warrior High doesn't receive more funding. Yeoman explains that this school is built on completely different ideals. Lack of funding isn't an issue there. Yang Yeoman, herself a graduate of Warrior High, explains that talent and ability are a world apart, and having good equipment is also considered an ability. That's why every student, you have to bring your own equipment. While the issue of ability is one thing, Jaren argues that this system seems to favor the wealthy, as if being rich is part of a skill set. Iman agrees, but points out that it's not that difficult for students to find good equipment, even if they don't have the money. Just being accepted into Warrior High proves one is a first-class adventurer, future star material, and companies are willing to throw money at such individuals. Modeling offers, future, earnings percentages, sponsorship deals, everything comes naturally. In the midst of this discussion, Iman proudly announces that she's received a scholarship from the Jins Group and a guaranteed research job, until retirement. Rong claps and congratulates her, which Serum finds a little strange. Iman assures him that she'll have many opportunities to prove herself among her peers. But before that, she must pass the transfer exam, which is much more difficult than the normal entrance exam. Therefore, she needs to get her new equipment as soon as possible. That must be why Chief Jit gave him permission in advance. After explaining everything, Eamon smilingly suggests going to the underground refinery and says she hopes Jurong will pass the test. Jurong grumbles that it would all have been a mess if it hadn't been for help in the end. It's clear from Sarum's face that she too didn't expect her uncle to help in the end. Now, the transfer test seems like a big deal to Jurong. Eamon, in fact, requires a lot of preparation. Aram explains that it's so serious that she's spending money out of her own pocket to take it. She was supposed to be supportive. Jurong is shocked as if a girl has confessed her love to him, which further irritates Saram. As they board the elevator, she explains that the caliber of the equipment manufacturer matters more than money. This is why the Jinsong Group's production department is considered one of the best in the world. Upon arrival, the army discovers that the place is actually the former Boiling Abyss dungeon, now converted into an underground blacksmith facility. Zhurong is amazed by the place, and Sarum adds that this isn't a shop where you can order and pick up. Just then, a huge shadow falls over them. Zhang is startled. A one-eyed figure is furious in the lab court because Zeke woke him up from a weekend nap and didn't even come himself. Zhang, without thinking, prepares to fight, but Saram immediately appears before him and reveals that he is the team leader of the production department. The one-eyed titan rebukes him, calling him Twinkie, and declares that he is not just a leader, but a monster in the eyes of humans. Thunderhammer Argus Elder Titan species. He comes from the US and holds special naturalization eligibility in Korea. He sits down with a heavy build and asks which brat Jik was referring to. Sarum panics and explains that all the details are in the data and battle footage sent from above. Argus dismisses all this as human nonsense. He says it's his lackey's job to look at those files, but they're all on leave. Nevertheless, since it's Jik's special request, he agrees. Suddenly, Argus notices Zhurong's weapon and challenges him to hunt him down. Sarum panics, but Zhurong calms down and begins to think. The Titan explains that this is normal among their species. Before anyone can become a weapon, they must give their blood, sweat, and tears to qualified hands. Argus also notices that Zhurong's abrupt gaze was perfect upon sensing, and his eyes were sharper than hunting instinct. So he asks Zhurong to show him how to beat him. Zhurong immediately agrees. The next moment, he charges full speed towards Argus. The monster is stunned, but in that split second, Sarah jumps up and runs away. She reaches out and thrusts her metal rod right under Zhurong's chin, stopping him. Argus is stunned and asks where this weapon came from. Zhurong, standing with the weapon's tip resting on the Titan's chin, was also confused. He was confident that he had landed his strongest strike. He knew that many monsters don't fall in a single hit, but this seemed like he was striking a moving wall, not a living creature. Faced with this abyss-like monster, he wondered to himself, who is this? Meanwhile, Saram's hair stood on end. They were already in danger because even the slightest mistake by Zhurong could anger Argus. There was another reason. All monsters in the world were ranked with danger stars. A 1-star mantis fly could be killed by a normal human with a weapon. A 2-star cluster raptor could be handled by trained soldiers. A 3-star juvenile titan ape could be taken down by armored units. But a 4-star Democus caused massive casualties and required artillery strikes. The army could withstand even 4 stars. Anything beyond that was beyond the reach of a modern military. That wasn't the case. Defeating monsters above 4 stars required such overwhelming firepower that the entire area could be devastated. Therefore, special attack squads or adventurers were sent to minimize civilian casualties, and Argos was that 7-star threat. Have a creature no modern army could even touch. Now, that same Titan was asking Zhurong where his weapon came from. A shiver ran down Zhurong's spine. But Zhurong instead teased Argos. Hap, he said, perhaps he was hit so hard that he now doubted the weapon's origin. Argus warns him to answer carefully, as he created the weapon and demands to know why it isn't in the hands of the person it was intended for. Such information should have been entered into the association database at that time. Who is the owner? Where is the weapon kept? A smuggler couldn't have easily obtained such a weapon. Serum begins to suspect that Zhurong might have stolen it from someone. Just then, Zhang interrupts Argus, saying it's beyond his control. Serum's heart trembles. This guy seems to be really crazy. Argus, thinking this, bent over and got into a position to pick something up from the ground, and Zhurong had only one thing on his mind: instant death. His arrival was not only impossible, but even blocking him was impossible. Even needle attacks wouldn't work. Argus was a wall impossible to penetrate. If Zhang swelled himself, it would be useless. If he absorbed it, he would die. Only one last resort remained: the final technique stolen from his father, Yang. Zhurong knew that the law of the Force was cold and merciless. When 2 forces clashed, victory would befall the one who could. It should be heavier, but the real question is, if the impact isn't direct, get the angle right. If only when the position is right can the blow be redirected. This was Zhurong's final weapon, and miraculously, it parries Nomad Argus's attack. It was enough to leave Rich Girl wide-eyed. Parrying a 7-star monster's strike is no joke. Moreover, Zhurong immediately identifies Joint's only real weakness. He's about to finish him off with his eye needle when Argus catches him like lightning. Just then, Sarum jumps up and says, "Leader Argus." She understands why she's suspicious. But still, he cannot attack a human without knowing the full truth. Special naturalized species cannot harm humans unless their lives are in real danger. If they break this rule, their naturalized status is revoked, and they are directly classified as monsters. Hearing this, Argus's grip loosens, and Zhang falls to the ground. The Titan now understands why Zhurong has the weapon and why Jik came to pick it up. He seems about to apologize, but instead he says that Zhurong deserves the weapon and admits his mistake. He will compensate for it himself. Then, looking at his injured thumb, he says that this is the first time someone has hurt him in 30 years. Sarm was shocked, but Argus remained calm. This was the reason he started working with the humans. Have Sam gently asks if this was because of the same Gabak attack squad that hunted him 30 years ago. Argus is truly shocked. He says the story is completely false. The truth is that they couldn't even touch him, except one human cut off his arm and almost killed him. But at the last moment, he spared his life. Yes, Zhurong's face turns serious. He realizes Argus is referring to his father, Yang. The Elder Titans are considered the most powerful race in the Titans. They have limitless lifespans, only 10 exist on Earth, and are unmatched in crafting. They possess the innate skill of creating weapons and artifacts. Besides the Elder Titans, only the dwarves possess such abilities. But the dwarves learned to compete with humans. The Elder Titans didn't. They despised them. Then, 30 years ago, the Gabak attack squad began the Argus subjugation, and things took a turn for the worse. Kolos B. Argus's 4-star automated doll launches an attack. Osunga reports that communication with headquarters has been cut off. Kim Young-mo says all lines are down, possibly due to signal interference. Team leader Park Jongmin screams that something huge is coming. The next moment, Kolos B slams his fist into the ground, shaking the entire dungeon like an earthquake. Sununga attacks the doll from behind, striking it in the neck. But the doll doesn't even sustain a scratch. The sight of this makes her freeze in terror. The doll turns toward her with glowing eyes and swats her away like a fly. Young-mo trembles with fear. This was all against the plan. The Gubuk attack squad was a top-tier dungeon subjugation team, but Boiling Abyss, ruled by the Elder Titan Argus, was a completely different place. Have-Sanaga fell unconscious, and this was just one doll. There were 7 Kos B units present. As they dealt with or escaped one by one, another doll suddenly appeared. Young-mo began to understand that if the main team was in such a condition, there was no question of backup teams. Just then, a mysterious man told Young-mo to run. Escaping today would be a miracle. Just then, another doll appeared. The man attacks, but the man blocks his attack with a skill called Potential Trigger. This skill burns the user's remaining energy, giving them maximum power. However, once the effect wears off, the user falls unconscious. When the next attack comes, the leader uses a shield slam to block the doll's strike. Young-mo panics and shouts that if the leader uses Potential Trigger now, their death is certain. But the leader remains calm. He says that not everyone will survive, but he can buy enough time for the others to escape. Smiling, he tells Young-mo that he has. There's hope for survival. Just then, a massive shadow descends upon them, of a presence so overwhelming it can make your heart skip a beat. Argus appears, irritated that his dolls haven't yet eliminated these intruders. Both knew death was looming. Leader orders Young-mo to flee one last time. Leader thinks charging straight ahead might buy him some more time. Meanwhile, Argus stands with a fiery sword, as if he were out to exterminate insects. With a single slash, he reduces Leader to ashes and calls them pitiful pests. He laughs at their equipment, calling it garbage. In such frail bodies, absolutely useless. He was convinced this world was meant to end. Young-mo, the scaredy cat guy, stands before him, weapon glaring at him. Argus laughs at his loyalty, saying it's cute. But the meaningless Corby units begin to close in, and Young-mo's can't figure out how to stop the very dolls that even the leader lost to. Just then, a voice echoes through the chaos. I told you this palace isn't safe. A cool musclehead descends upon him and says that if they gather intel, maybe the situation can be reversed. There's no point in competing to clear the dungeon first. Young Fatty asks, "Who are you?" The muscular man smiles and explains that he received a distress signal, and the association sent a rescue team.